Breaking news coming in now. U.S. agents have intercepted a group of heavily armed Sinaloa Cartel gunmen near the Arizona border.
Officials say the suspects were carrying military-grade weapons and tactical gear, raising new concerns about cartel activity spreading across multiple U.S. states.
So, U.S. federal agents are busting the Sinaloa cartel's criminal network across multiple states inside the United States. And with what they've found, the cartel has infiltrated all 50 U.S. states. But they're not just smuggling drugs anymore. Cartel hitmen are now carrying military-grade weapons inside the United States. And guess what? They're not doing it all on their own. The cartel is getting inside help from U.S. law enforcement personnel. In one particularly shocking incident, a Border Patrol agent was caught smuggling dangerous drugs and weapons for the cartel. So now, the question is, how will the United States win this war on drugs if cartel members are carrying military-grade weapons inside America with the help of our own law enforcement officers? 133 firearms, $78,000 in cash, and nearly 9,000 pills were all seized as a part of this three-state drug bust. And the DEA says it all has ties to the Sinaloa Mexican cartel, a massive disruption to a cartel based in the Imperial Valley. 47 alleged members of the Sinaloa cartel indicted. More than 2 million potentially fatal doses of seized. We are going to dismantle the next man up theory that has been breeding in these Mexican cartels for generations. No more. Our message to the cartels is simple. We own the sea. You do not. We will find you. We will hunt you down. We will stop you before you reach our border, before you can smuggle these drugs into our country. This raid began in the early hours of the morning when convoys of armed agents rolled out across 5 states all at once: Oregon, Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, and Nevada. At the same time, police helicopters provided air support from above, while SWAT teams hit dozens of stash houses within the same hour. By the end of that morning, the Department of Justice had seized more than $500 million worth of narcotics. Now, this operation didn't come out of nowhere. It had been building up for months. According to Attorney General Pam Bondi, the targets were the Sinaloa Cartel and the CJNG, aiming to dismantle their U.S. network and cut off the flow of that had already killed tens of thousands of Americans. We believe 2 cartels, CJNG and Sinaloa, were heavily tied to these shipments. This is a major blow to their financial operations and their efforts to distribute drugs throughout our country. At the center of the criminal network was a 36-year-old Mexican national named Heriberto Salazar Amaya, who quietly lived in Salem, Oregon. Bottom right, the head of this organization, Sinaloa organization, his name is Heriberto Salazar Amaya. He is the leader, and he was living in Salem, Oregon. According to investigators, he was the one taking orders, dispatching couriers, and coordinating drug shipments to cities from Arizona to Utah. Now, the crazy thing is that this guy had already been deported twice before, yet somehow he found his way back, rebuilt his criminal network from scratch, and expanded faster than ever. By early 2024, his network had spread across multiple states with dozens of runners, fake IDs, and safe houses. When agents finally raided his home, they found more than $2.8 million in cash, jewelry worth $50,000, and 2 high-end vehicles, a Mercedes-AMG and a Ford F-150 Shelby. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Once investigators began tracing his supply chain, the scale of what they uncovered was staggering. Across the 5 states, agents seized over 3 million counterfeit pills, more than 11 kilograms of fentanyl powder, 35 kilograms of meth, 7.5 kilograms of cocaine, 4.5 kilograms of heroin, and 49 weapons, including modified ghost guns and rifles fitted with illegal switches. All of it tied to Heriberto's command structure. But the pills are especially dangerous. You know why? Because they were pressed to look exactly like real oxycodone. A single pill could kill an unsuspecting person in seconds. That, according to Attorney General Bondi, is why she described the fentanyl crisis as a chemical weapon campaign aimed at ordinary Americans. Now, the leading cause of death for people between 18 and 34 in the United States. Each year, roughly 75,000 Americans die from overdoses linked to it, and Heriberto's network was built to exploit that epidemic. That's why the Justice Department brought together the DEA, FBI, U.S. Navy, and Coast Guard to dismantle the criminal network. They coordinated surveillance, air operations, and maritime interceptions stretching as far as the coasts of Peru and Ecuador, according to Attorney General Bondi. This team, with all the agencies I just mentioned, used drones aircraft, and ships to interdict the traffickers. It was one of the largest multi-agency efforts ever directed at a Mexican cartel network operating inside the U.S. Like Heriberto, many of the suspects had entered the country illegally within the past few years, quietly blending into local communities while moving their poison from coast to coast. This time, Pam Bondi made it clear that none of them would be sent back to Mexico. She warned that sending them home would be as good as setting them free. Now, while all this was happening in the Southwest, agents discovered that Sinaloa operatives had already captured more states, moving deeper into the country. Not long after that massive bust, federal agents in Kentucky carried out another major operation. This time, it was the DEA Louisville Division covering Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Over 3 stages, agents arrested 51 people with direct links to the Sinaloa cartel. They seized 133 firearms, more than $78,000 in cash, and, you guessed it, more pills. The stockpiles were so pure that just one could kill an adult instantly. In fact, DEA Louisville Special Agent in charge Jim Scott said the purity of meth was around 95%, the highest they had ever seen. And guess where they all came from? In fact, DEA Louisville Special Agent in charge Jim Scott says 95% of the drugs in our area come from the Sinaloa and Jalisco Mexican cartels. These arrests and seizures confirmed what investigators had feared for years, that Mexican cartels were no longer confined to border states. They have now built new routes and distribution networks deep into the American heartland, reaching towns and cities that had never seen this level of organized crime before. Kentucky, in particular, has become one of the hardest hit states in the country. You won't believe this. More than 2.5% of its population struggles with opioid addiction. In 2024 alone, 1,410 people in Kentucky died from overdoses. For cartels like Sinaloa, that crisis created a ready market, steady demand, weak enforcement, and vulnerable communities. This bust, however, was just another part of the picture. Even as those arrests were being processed, intelligence reports pointed to other active Sinaloa cells still operating inside the country, especially in California. And this time, it turned out the cartel was using U.S. Border Patrol agents to smuggle drugs. By the time the Louisville operation wrapped up, federal investigators were already preparing for another takedown, and this one was even bigger. It involved more than 400 federal, state, and local officers working together to dismantle a Sinaloa-linked network operating across Imperial County, San Diego, Fresno, Los Angeles, Phoenix, and Oregon. On the morning of the raid, agents executed 25 search warrants and arrested 36 people. In total, 47 defendants were charged with drug trafficking, firearms, and money laundering offenses. Now here's the crazy part. Among those arrested was a U.S. Border Patrol agent named Alexander Grinley. Yes, an active-duty U.S. Border Patrol agent accused of trafficking methamphetamine while still employed by the agency. When investigators raided his house, they found even more evidence of his involvement in the drug trade. We then did a search warrant at his residence in Brawley, California, and we found indicia of distribution, so scales, baggies, and we seized meth. And this right here shows why it's so easy for these criminals to spread across multiple states and operate freely throughout the United States. Because while the government is going after the cartels, some Americans, even law enforcement officers, are the ones sabotaging the effort from within. But this raid just exposed one of them. Throughout the long-term investigation, agents seized more than 324 kilograms of methamphetamine, 4 kilograms of fentanyl, and significant amounts of heroin and cocaine. They also recovered 52 firearms, including ghost guns and rifles with no serial numbers. According to Homeland Security investigations, the weapons were part of a trade network where U.S.-made guns were being smuggled back into Mexico in exchange for drugs. One search uncovered a cache of ammunition made in Russia, including over 400 rounds of .223 caliber Red Army ammunition and several AR-style rifles assembled with untraceable parts. So now, when you look at everything the authorities have uncovered, from the Oregon bust to the Kentucky network and that corrupt agent in California, it becomes clear that this problem runs much deeper than most people realize. So, the real question is, how deep? And how will the United States win this war if these criminals are taking over more states and getting help from our own law enforcement? Please feel free to share your thoughts with us in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth videos like this.